Good evening, dear Dhamma friends. I've been contemplating on a sutta which is in Majjhima Nikaya 28, Mahāhatthipadopamasutta. Hattipada. Hatti is elephant, Pada is the feet. Mahāhatthipadopamasutta, the sutta which talks about the elephant's leg. We might be wondering what is elephant leg is supposed to do with the Dhamma. And that's exactly what we are going to be covering. Looking at aspect which can be used as a meditation object to experience the Paticcasamuppada or dependent origination. This sutta, especially for me, is helping towards the goal of reaching Arhata Samapatti in this life itself. And I thought that it would be good for anyone to experience that peace which everyone would like to have and cut the craving. So, without any further delay, let us start on the sutta. But before that, let me submit to the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha through a small chanting. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami. Dhammam saranam gacchami. Sangham saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi buddham saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi dhammam saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi sangham saranam gacchami. Tatiyampi buddham saranam gacchami. Tatiyampi dhammam saranam gacchami. Tatiyampi sangham saranam gacchami. Saranaгаmanam sampunnam. Now we will look at what is Buddha, what is Dhamma and Sangha. About Buddha. Iti piso bhagava arham samma sambuddho vijjacharana sampanno sugato lokavidu anuttaro purisa dhamma sarathi satta deva manussanam buddho bhagava iti. Svakhato bhagavata dhammo sandittiko akaliko yehi passiko opanaiko pachattam veditabho vinyuhiti. Supatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho Ujupatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho Nyayapatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho Samichipatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho Yadidam purisa yugani atta purisa puggala Esa bhagavato savaka sangho Ahunayyo Pahunayyo Dakkhinayyo Anjali Karanayyo Anuttaram Punyakhettam Lokasayiti. As regards to the deeper meanings of it, you can find it on my website, and I have shared that in the link on the description. Let's start on this sutta. So in English it is called as the longer simile of the elephant's footprint. Mahāhatthipadopamasutta. So at one time, Buddha was staying near Savatthi in Jetavana, which is belonging to Anathapindika. Anathapindika is one who donates the entire Jetavana to the Buddha by putting cartloads of gold coins, which the prince asks in order to give him this land, which he makes it a nice park for the Dhamma and the Sangha. At that place, Sariputta would be meditating, and after his meditation comes out and addresses the bhikkhus or the monks. Reverend bhikkhus, and they all reply in chorus, Reverend. And they say, Dear Sir Sariputta. And then the Sariputta says this to the bhikkhus. He gives an example or a simile of what the elephant feet is all about. If you see the elephant feet, it's big, and all animals' feet can fit into it. So it creates a boundary. In the same way, when the person starts working out and develops moral deeds, which is unshakable, then that moral deed fits into the Four Noble Truths, just like the elephant feet. So, what are these Four Noble Truths? As we have known, the first one is finding out what is the pain one has to take. And in English, dukkha is treated as suffering. But actually, the deeper meaning of dukkha is do occur. Du means bad, non-pleasing. Occur is from which sense it is coming. Generally, when I see an object, it might not be to my liking. When I hear an object, it might not be to my liking. When I taste something, it might not be as per my liking. If I smell something, then it might not be to my liking. If I touch something, and if I think something, it might not appear to be to my liking, which is dukkha. So when we look at the noble truth of suffering, what it really means is that from these 6 sense doors, whatever is coming might not be exactly to the liking. And even if it is yes, you have to take tremendous pain to retain it. Just like I like someone and I need to marry that person, because then I can keep that person along with me. If I like an object, I need to buy that object, for which I need to earn. So it is actually a kind of pain which I have to take to possess something, which is suffering. If I get it also, there is a suffering of maintenance. If I don't get it, then there is suffering of not getting it. So both are true. And hence, it's a noble truth of suffering. We all know in general about suffering. But we don't know that how senses causes suffering. And then the origin of suffering, samudaya, arising. How does it arise? That's the second noble truth. The third noble truth is how to get rid of that suffering. What is that I need to do in order to get rid of that suffering, which is coming from these 6 senses? Fourth one is the steps I've followed in order to get rid of the suffering. So let's now come to the first noble truth. It is, what is this noble truth of suffering? Because in every aspect I need to take a pain of that. Number one, I need to be reborn. Things which are given to me is not satisfying, and hence the only possibility is to create impressions, which then leads to rebirth. And when it leads to rebirth, there is no way I can condition where I should be born. Just like I am born now, it's taken considerable amount of years for me to get into the Dhamma. So in my next life, I would be doing the same if I am not careful enough. Then all these senses keeps on aging. So what I was enjoying few years ago, now I cannot enjoy. And after I really grow old, these senses are going to diminish so badly that nothing I can do. So aging is a suffering. Then inevitably, death is going to come over. And whatever I've done from my childhood till the death is completely erased. It only stays as remembrance. Whoever wants to remember will remember, but otherwise nothing. Then there is sorrow, lamentation, grief, body pain, sadness, distress. It's going to be there, which is suffering. And I'm not going to get what I wish for all the time. I don't think so. There is anyone in this world who doesn't want to get what he wishes all the time. So actually, when we get what we want, it's just like removal of that anxiety which was there. But I really don't get what I want. So now we come to this 5 grasping aggregates which are suffering. So now the question comes, what are these 5 grasping aggregates? What do they mean? What do I mean? They are, in Pali, if I were to say, Rupa Upadana Khanda, Vedana Upadana Khanda, Sanya Upadana Khanda, Sankhara Upadana Khanda, Vinyan Upadana Khanda. Rupa is the form. Upadana is clinging or holding on. Khanda is aggregation or binding or grouping. So on one side of the equation, we have form, which is clubbed up. In a way, it looks something to us, to a person. Then basically, I see the form. So there is a feeling that there's form, which again causes upadana, clinging or holding on, and a heap of, khanda is a heap of grouping or aggregates. Sanya is the perception, and the same thing, grouping and holding on or latching on or clinging on to it. Sankhara Upadana is the free will actions I take in each of these senses on which the impression is based. Finally, Vinyanupadana Khanda, the experiencer. When I say I saw, that whatever that I was seeing is the Vinyana. So that also arises along with the Rupa and departs along with the Rupa. So we'll see how that works. So these are the 5 grasping aggregates. Then the question comes, what is the grasping aggregate of a form? Then we know that there's actually the 4 primaries and the form derived from those 4 primary elements. The 4 primaries are Pathavi Dhatu, earth quality, Apo Dhatu, the liquid quality, Tejo Dhatu, the heat quality, Vayu Dhatu, the wind quality. And the 4 Upadaya Rupa, form derived out of it is Varna, which is color, Gandha, fragrance, Rasa, sapidity, Oja is the nutriment. So in each of these 4 elements, which has a quality of hardness, softness, because it is Pathavi, earth element or earth quality. Flowing and fluidity is the liquid like water. Cold and hot is the heat element. And movement and air is the wind quality. Now let's come to what is the earth quality, or what it really means. How can I see it? How can I meditate on that? Is there any process? Yes, certainly there is a process. He says the earth property, or the earth quality, quality would be the better word. It can be interior or exterior. And what is the interior earth quality? Venerable Sariputta says that verify anything that is hard, anything that looks solid and appropriated, that's an internal, pertaining to an individual, which includes the head hair. We can check that. It's rough or smooth. Body hair, we can see that it's rough. Nails, hard. Teeth. So nails and teeth is like stone, very hard. Skin, very soft or rough, whatever. That is solid again. Flesh, that's again solid. Sinews, again solid. Bones, again made out of stone. Bone marrow, it's solid. Kidneys, heart, liver, diaphragm, spleen, lungs, intestines, mesentery, undigested food, feces, or anything else hard, solid, and appropriated, that's internal, and it's pertaining to an individual. And this is what called as an Patavidhatu, or earth quality. But when I observe outside, the same hardness and the same softness is there everywhere. So when I compare what is there between what I have in the body and what I see outside, I find that outside is more in quantity than what I have inside. So now I can see for myself that there's nothing called as internal earth quality and an external earth quality. Rather, it is just an earth quality wherever it is. So if I see a person, I can see that it is made out of the same material. There's no person there. It's only this earth quality. And same thing if I compare that with a stone or mud. So if I touch the table or the chair or whatever I'm touching, I can find that it is hard. And if I touch the food, I know it is. Some food are hard, some food are soft, but it is solid anyway. I can really meditate on that for a long period of time, which will then make me see the Patavidhatu. When I see it, all that I can experience is that there's nothing called as internal to me and there's nothing external to me. Rather, it is just the Patavidhatu. So now I am seeing it truly with right understanding. This is not mine. How can it be? Can I call the stones, mountains, trees, all human beings, all animals, all birds, all insects to be me or mine? And this belongs to me. It is something very stupid of mine. Now I see that what I have is very least amount when I compare to outside. So I have a minuscule of Patavidhatu. So I cannot call this hair and body hair and all that is mine. And in fact, every day I'm losing hairs. So can I call that they're mine? If I call it is mine, then when they drop off, then what I should call? I have dropped off. So this I should keep on meditating. So when I brush my teeth, what's happening? Can I say that the brushing is mine? When I go and relieve myself in the toilet, can I say I got down inside the toilet? No. And hence, I cannot say this is mine, this belongs to me, and this is my self. When I truly see with this right understanding, now I can see that I am getting disillusioned by the form of this Pathavi, earth element or earth quality. It helps me in detaching the mind from the earth quality and get out of passion. I become dispassionate on the earth element. So this is what I need to meditate. So first, I need to see what all am I carrying. 2, I need to compare with outside. 3, really see that what is outside is what is inside. Nothing is there special, separate, made for me. So when I do that, I see that I cannot say this hair is mine and this is mine and that is mine. And hence becomes easy for me to give up. Now I can see through that illusion what I was making. So now the mind is in disillusion and dispassion. So he gives another further examples to prove the point. He says, there comes a time when the exterior water element flares up. So we called tsunamis and we can call floods like that, which is water. At that time, if we have really watched, the solid disappears. And in fact, I was watching one video which happened in somewhere in Europe, Switzerland, where they have a sawmill and a lot of wood have been cut and things have been done, kept. Suddenly there is a mud sledge below, which literally takes away the entire place. The factory is completely gone. It pulls the entire structure, including tons of the logs, what was stored, and the warehouse. And then it spreads through the villages. And the villages are completely submerged with that mud sledge. It is going so slow. It doesn't seem that it is going to destroy anything. But over a few minutes, it devours and there is no solidity at all. That's exactly what Sariputta is hinting here. I will try to share that video also in the description for you to see for yourself how the Patavi Dhatu, solidity, completely goes away when liquid comes. So, when that huge thing which was there is completely put into rubble, what is this ephemeral body appropriated for craving and saying that this is mine? And I take, this is my body. I need to maintain this body. I want to look smart. I want to do this. I want to go to gym. I want to develop the body. Isn't it such a stupid thing? I'm not saying we should not exercise. That is one part that has to be done. But should I adore the body? That is not required. So I don't have to take it as I or mine or I am. And they consider, or I need to consider it to be none of these things. So looking at that, I am sitting into meditation. And I find that there are people who would like to abuse, attack, harass, and trouble the Bhikku. And they understand. So this is for the Bhikkhus. I am also putting for myself so that I can make the mind understand the dukkha. What they understand. This painful feeling born out of ear contact has arisen in me. And that is dependent on the condition and not independent. Now the question comes, what it is dependent on? Dependent on contact. So without contact, I cannot say it is an abuse. I have to have two things. Number one, I need to know the language, otherwise it is impossible to know who is abusing me, harassing me or shouting at me. I only can hear the sound because I don't understand that language. That means I need to first know that language. Two is that I need to know that somebody is harassing me. And because there is an ear and sound can be heard in that ear, because of that only this harassment can be found out. It is dependent on that contact. So when there is something dependent, how can I then make out that it is belonging to me? So then they see that the contact, that is phassa, feeling, vedana, perception, sanya, willful choices, sankhara, and vijnana, the experience provider, are anicca. Anicca can be put in various ways. One way to do is, we can see that everything that comes will pass away, will recede. Nothing will be there as a residue also. Another way to see is that it cannot be as per one's liking. If something were to be to one's liking all the time, then it becomes nicca. Since it is not to one's liking, no matter what one tries all the time, only if the condition matches, then there is liking, otherwise no. And hence it becomes anicca. So anything that is dependent is anicca. Anything that is independent is nicca. So now I have understood what is anicca. It is dependent. Whatever is dependent upon, after the dependence is gone, then it goes away. As long as the dependency is there, it seems to be that it is existing. Now, if I meditate on that, how the sound is coming and how it is dependent upon, with that element alone, with that dhatu, sound is coming due to space. So wherever there is space, there's going to be sound. It's not my space. There's nothing called my space. It's just a space. So wherever there is space, there is going to be sound. So when I meditate, then the mind becomes eager, confident, settled, and decided. In other times, people might treat that bhikkhu with disliking, loathing, and detestation, striking them with fists, stones, sticks, and swords. And now they understand that since this physical body can be seen, anybody can abuse it with fists, stones, sticks, and swords, can strike it because it can be seen. But I can reflect upon a sutta, simile of the saw. The simile of the saw is in MN28, Majjhima Nikaya 21, Mahāhatthipadopamasutta. Kakachupa is the saw. Kakachu is the saw. Upama is through which, and that is the sutta which talks about the saw. This is in MN21, where Buddha explains, and here Sariputta is explaining what Buddha explains there. He says that even if a low down, very low quality or low mentality bandits, nowadays we can use the meaning, we can see the terrorists, and they were to sever your limb, or let us say my limb, from limb to limb, meaning they cut my hands, they cut my feet. I shouldn't develop any malevolent thoughts, vyapada. I should not curse them on that account. If not, meaning if I'm having ill intentions, malevolent intention, then I would not be following Buddha's instruction. But however, when I reflect upon that, what happens? Reflect upon the simile of the saw, what happens? My energy shall be roused up. And it doesn't get disturbed. And my awareness gets established and becomes very lucid. Body becomes tranquil and undisturbed. And the mind is immersed in samadhi, irrespective of whether they're going to cut my hand or feet or whatever it is. That's a practice I need to do. Now, gladly, let fist, stones, sticks, swords strike this body. For this is how the instruction of the Buddha are to be followed. Sometimes what happens, the mind is disturbed, so the recollection of the Buddha teachings and the Sangha, the equanimity based on the skillful may not be stabilized in them. In that case, they have to stir up a sense of urgency by stating to themselves Oh, it is such a loss, it's such a misfortune that while recollecting the Buddha, the teaching, and the Sangha in this way, simile of the saw, it did not come at all. And the equanimity based on the skillful is not established, is not stabilized in me. Now he gives an example here, simile, which used to be there in India some time ago. Even now it is there in many families. It's there in my family. Nowadays it has got little bit diluted. But the simile here is there is a daughter-in-law. And earlier we had joint families. During a joint family, what used to happen is that the mother-in-law, the daughter-in-law, and all the in-laws, all the daughter-in-laws used to sit outside and gossip and talk and laugh and all that. As soon as they see the father-in-law, they run inside into the kitchen, into doing their work, not showing their face at all. They used to run away doing their work because the father-in-law has come. So that is the simile what is given here in this sutta. They are like a daughter-in-law who stirs up a sense of urgency when they see their father-in-law. For some people, this might not be, they might not be able to understand this simile because they might not be from India, number one. And number two is that they might not be knowing how in India, when they have a joint family, how that used to function. And only those people who are born in India and know about India and they've been in India for a long time and then they have joint families, they can recognize easily what I'm trying to say. Nevertheless, the idea here is to create an urgency that I need to get into the Buddha Dhamma Sangha contemplation urgently by looking at the simile of the saw. However, if I am able to recollect the Buddha, the teaching, and the Sangha in this way, equanimity based on the skillful gets established in them and they're very happy with that. And when that happens, at that point, what the bhikkhu has to do has been done. So he is not going to get laid into or waylaid into different other things because the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha is actually taking care of him. Now we come to the water element or water quality or a liquid quality. The liquid quality can be again interior or exterior. What is the interior water quality? It means anything that is liquid, watery, and can be appropriated, that's internal, pertaining to an individual. This includes, now I can check within my body, within this body, bile, phlegm, pus, blood, sweat, fat, tears, grease, saliva, snot, synovial fluid, urine, or anything else that is liquid or watery, and appropriated that internal pertaining to an individual. So now what I need to do is sit just like what I did for Patavi, earth quality. I need to see this water is there everywhere. It's not my water. So there's nothing called as internal water element or internal water quality. That flowing is there everywhere. And it's not my blood and my pus and my this one. Pus is there in everyone, blood is there in everyone, and we have also graded or identified the type of blood. So we say A positive blood and B positive and AB positive, O positive. Like that we are given these things. It's not I over there in that blood. Even if I were to do a blood donation, it is not my blood I'm donating. It's in the body and I'm giving the blood. So now I can see the interior water element and the exterior water element are the same. they are not anything different. They're exactly the same. What is outside is definitely inside. And what is inside is definitely outside. Now, how can I then claim this is my water element or my liquid? Just like we go to a restaurant and buy a bottle of water. Just because there is a rate associated with it, I feel that I bought the water. Just like I go to a restaurant, same restaurant, I eat food which is solid and I say this is my food. It's just food. It cannot be my food. Similarly, it cannot be my water, because if I compare the water which is there outside, each one has water in their body. How stupid of mine to ever consider that I am having water, and each one of our body has more than 70% water. It's not my water, it is water. How stupid of me. So I can see that it's just a water element. And when I truly see with this right understanding, then I know that this is not mine, I'm not this. This is not myself. So just like how I did on the Patavi, earth, if I do it on water, then my mind gets disillusioned. Nibbida is the term in Pali for disillusion. So I get disillusioned by it, and I get into dispassion, which is viraga. So there is no raga, there is no passion or no desire to hold on to it, because it is never mine. And what is not mine, how can I claim it? It's foolishness. So when the wife comes, or the husband comes, and the child comes, or the son comes, or a daughter comes, or a friend comes, or girlfriend comes, or whoever comes, it is only what? Solid and liquid. And we can see they have to eat, which is solid. They have to drink water or beer or whatever. Even if it were to be aerated drink or alcohol or this or that, it is still liquid. Either you have to fill up with liquid after eating solid food. It's not theirs, neither it is mine. So I can see the right understanding, and hence get into nibbida, disillusion, and viraga, dispassion. And then there comes a time when this external water element flares up, like in the case of tsunamis and floods and all that. Now what happens? Not only the Patavi is gone, it takes up the villages. It sweeps away. All that you could remember was a house is gone. If you have seen the landslides when it is rainy, what happens? It was looking solid. Water gushes in, and no longer you can see that solidity. It's gone. It devours that place. So the villages are swept, the towns and the cities and states and countries, all submerged in water. Why floods? Even if it rains heavily for a few days without non-stop, many places gets inundated by water. Then what happens? The solidity disappears. Then you have to bring on the boat if you want to survive. If there is no boat, it's filled up everywhere, nowhere to go, and the floods are coming and creating tsunamis like in the 2014 December, when the earthquake happened in Indonesia and it spread across Asia. from Sri Lanka to India to Malaysia, Singapore, to many other countries, there was a disaster. All that was solid was gone in an instant. In Thailand, people who were enjoying their holidays went away without trace. And that's what water can do. The same thing it can do in our body. If water gets too much, it stirs the whole body. And then the person vomits. All that which was solid is completely gone. So I cannot take it to be mine. And then he says, there comes a time when the water in the ocean sinks down 100 leagues, or 200 leagues, and 300 leagues, 400 leagues, 500 leagues, 600 leagues, up to 700 leagues. It has gone down. We've seen that in wells. We have seen that in every given place. That it, drought season, drought, no water. To an extent that you have to go kilometers or miles to get water. It is such a sad thing to do. So, what I can see is if I am getting illusioned by liquid element, liquid property, I've got myself in a problem. Because now I can see this cannot be kept as in any stable condition. If it is more, it is going to devour villages, towns, cities, state and country. If it is less, turns into drought. And there is drought, there's no water. When there is no water, what will you do? Search for water. And the way we are now dealing with nature by creating so many cities, in few years time, maybe 30-40 years, countries will go on war for water. That will be the most expensive product ever bought, which is very much important, but still you need to pay. And those countries which have water will rule, and those countries which don't have water will have to buy from them. If there is no money, no water. So this is what is going to happen. If I am not, now I am obliged to plead for water. Then he says, there comes a time when the water in the ocean stands just 7 palm trees deep, 6 or 5, 4, 3, 2, or even just 1 palm tree deep. And again, it goes even more lesser, just fathom deep, can be 1 fathom deep, and then can be a waist deep, or a knee deep, or even just an ankle deep. And finally, there is not even a drop of water to wet the tip of the finger. So for all its greatness of water, which I think is mine, because I'm buying water, I'm paying money, getting water, it's always there, I can see that it cannot be treated as something which is going to be there with you all the time or with me all the time. It's liable to end, vanish. And another thing, it can give unexpected result. Viparinama means unexpected. I didn't expect this to happen. It floods. How did it happen? I don't know. It happened. Oh shucks, this time it is drought. How it happened? Don't know. Like in the place where I'm staying today, we've been having rains for last 1 month every day. So now people are saying why there is no sun. I wish we had sun. Now I'm sure after some time when it becomes scorching, the water reduces everywhere, and then people start to say that there is no rain. This we can see. There's nothing magical or anything which is not knowing about it. So you detach from that basic idea that this is me, this is mine, and myself. This is mine, this belongs to me, this is myself. If I can do that, it's disillusion, nibbidda, dispassion, viraga. Now again, if while recollecting the Buddha teaching and the Sangha in this way, equanimity based on skillful gets established in them, they are happy with that. At this point, much has been done by that bhikkhu. And what is the fire element or heat property? The heat property or heat quality may be interior or exterior. And what is the interior one? Anything that's fire, fiery, and appropriated, that's internal, pertaining to an individual, which includes that which warms, that which ages, and that which heats you up when feverish, that which properly digests food and drink, or anything else that is hot and fiery, fiery, and fire, and appropriated, that's internal, pertaining to individual. And now if I sit and meditate, I see that I never asked it to be hot. I never asked it to become feverish. And outside also, there is so much of fire. There's so much of heat. The sun has much heat compared to my heat. What is the comparison that it is my heat and compared to sun? And every human being, every animal has heat. It's hot. Body is hot. It's not that they brought hot and put it. It's so stupid of mine to call it as this is mine, this belongs to me, this myself. So when I do that, I get disillusioned with the heat quality and detaching the mind of the heat quality. So now he gives good examples. So when the fire quality, there comes a time when it flares up. And if it flares up, just like in California or elsewhere, there are forest fires, or in Australia, and also in India, and also in parts of Asia, when the heat becomes, or when the weather becomes too hot, and there's rubbing of the trees, the fire gets generated. And when it gets generated, it burns up villages, towns, and cities, states, and countries, until it reaches a green field, a roadside, a cliff edge, a body of water, a clear parkland where it extinguished due to lack of fuel. Or even when the fire tenders appear and they take helicopters and planes and then start pouring water, and then the forest fire is doused. So if there is water, then this fire gets extinguished, not otherwise. And also there would be time when they go looking for a fire, taking just a chicken feather or a scrap of sinew as kindling. If you see in Antarctica or any other place, if there is no power, if there is nothing there, you cannot light or kindle a fire. You have to search desperately for getting fire. That also can happen. So for all its great age, the fire quality can be revealed as what? As anicca, liable to end, vanish, and has unexpected results. Either it can devour the villages, or it can get to a stage when you cannot create fire at all. Now, what then is this ephemeral body appropriated for craving? That this is mine, this is mine, this is mine. So I don't have to attach I or mine or I am, as I am none of these things. Now I can recollect the Buddha teachings and the Sangha because of the reflection, because of the experience what I'm getting. The skillful qualities gets stabilized in them, and I'm happy with that, or they are happy, those bhikkhus are happy with that. So at this time, at this point, much has been done by that bhikkhu. Now we come to the air property, air quality, or the air element. They can be interior, exterior, and it should be something that is wind or windy and appropriated as an internal pertaining to individual, which includes, this is fun, the wind that goes up or down. Did I take wind from outside and put it inside? No, it's there. Wind's in the belly. Oh my goodness, it makes sounds in the belly. People can hear, but nothing I can do. Or in the bowels, farting is one of it. Nothing anybody can do about it. If the sound comes, also is one way. If the sound is not coming, is another way. But it is wind. And wind that flows through the limbs. So every joint, there is air going in and going out. In breath and out breath, or anything else that's windy or wind or windy and appropriate, that's internal pertaining to individual. Now if I see, there's nothing called as internal or external. Outside there is so much of wind, more wind than what I can imagine in the body. So I really stop thinking that it is my wind. All the movement are due to wind in the body. I'm able to move my legs and arms, and all that is because there is wind property, quality. And nothing of that is mine, to be honest. And nothing it is of anybody else. So when I call somebody as a wife or a husband or a son or a father or a mother or a sister or a brother or a friend or a lover or a fiance or whoever I want to call, or a dog or a cat or whatever, I can give those designations, but actually what I'm saying is it is a Patavi, earth, or water, or air, or fire. So now we are in air. There's nobody's. Absolutely nobody's. So when I really see it in that way, then the mind stops grasping onto it. It becomes nibbida, which is disillusionment, and virag, dispassion. So now he gives an example, again similar way. So let's have tornadoes, twisters, hurricanes, and all of that. The air is circulating so fast. And when they circulate so fast, they make circles. And when they create circles, it pulls up everything that is there, which we call it as twister or tornadoes. So when it flares up, it can sweep away the villages, towns, and cities, states, and countries. And when the summertime comes, the last month of summer, especially in India, nothing, there's not even a blade of grass which will shake. There is no air. It's humid, it's hot. You take a fan. In the earlier ages, they used to take a fan and then fan their bodies. Now we have air conditioners and fans and air coolers. But if the power is not there, then you'll have fun. There is no air. It's so hot that it becomes impossible to sit. Like in the Gulf region, if you go there and the power is not there, you literally burn yourself without air. It's so humid, you will sweat like crazy. Why? Because there is no air. So for all its great age and whatever we could designate, we can see that the air element is revealed to be anicca, liable to end, vanish, and have unexpected results. When that is happening outside, and how stupid of mind to take this body appropriate by craving and take it as I or mine or myself. And I consider they are not any one of these. And looking at all these 4 properties which are there in the body, now I see that if others abuse, attack, harass, and trouble that bhikkhu, they understand. This painful feeling born out of ear contact has arisen in me. That's dependent and not independent. Now, dependent on what? Dependent on contact. And now they see that the contact, feeling, perception, willful choices, and the consciousness, which is the experience provider, are anicca. Based upon that quality alone, the sound which is coming, their mind becomes eager, confident, settled, and decided. Why? Because they can see that it is dependent. This body is dependent on these 4 elements or the 4 property. They cannot be mine. And they cannot be, this belongs to me. How stupid. And this is myself. That is even more stupid than what I think. So, others might treat that bhikkhu with disliking, loathing, detestation, striking them with fist, stones, sticks, and sword. They understand that this body is such that fist, stones, sticks, and sword can strike it. Something like lifeless forms. You can take a stick and hit to do whatever you want and nothing is going to happen. It might break, but it's not I who got broken there. Because the body is liable like that. It can fall down, it can break, it can become 100 pieces. Like the Buddha has said in the simile of the saw, even if low-lying, low-down bandits who don't have any heart were to sever my limb from limb to limb, like, they come and cut my hands, fingers, and also my leg. Should I have malicious, malevolent intent on them? No. If yes, then I'm not following the Buddha teaching to the dot. So when I really reflect upon the simile of the saw, MN28, then my energy shall be roused up, unflagging, and my mindfulness established, or my awareness established and lucid. Body becomes tranquil, undisturbed, and my mind immersed in samadhi. Now I know gladly that fist, stones, sticks, and swords strike this body. For this is how the instruction of the Buddha are to be followed. Sometimes again, due to having these impressions that why are they hitting me, recollection of the Buddha Dhamma Sangha may not stabilize in them. In that case, they stir up sense of urgency by saying that it's my loss and my misfortune. And because of that, it gets established. And if it gets established and stabilized, at this point, much has been done by that bhikkhu. Now to see a simile of what is this world all about and this human body all about, or any body, a shape all about. If I put sticks, creepers, grass and mud, can be called as a building. In the same way, when the space is enclosed by bones, sinews, flesh and skin, it can be known as a form. There are so many body parts, but what I can really see is that I require a skeleton. Number one, it has to be covered with flesh. Number two, it has to have sinews for joining together. Then it should have the skin. And then I can say there's a form. And that form can be named as human, animal, bird, this, that. I can keep on naming forever. But that's all what it is. So now I can reflect upon it and you can see that all are these only four. What? Bones, sinews, flesh, skin. That's all. So when I see like this, it is called as a form. And when this form comes, we can see that I is intact internally, it doesn't come out. I doesn't come out. The animal's I or human I or whatever I, EYE I'm talking about, doesn't come out. So long as exterior sights don't come into range. And there should be a corresponding engagement. So if there is no corresponding engagement, there is no manifestation of a corresponding type of consciousness. So this is the most important thing to watch. I have eyes, just like a camera. As long as I'm not clicking any pictures there, I'm just going around with that camera, looking from that eyepiece. And when the sights don't come, meaning to say that the shutter is not open, then no consciousness of that object can come. Now, again, comparing it to a camera, now this shutter is open and I start moving around, but I am not interested in a particular object. Again, the consciousness doesn't come. Only when a particular object is interesting, then the consciousness arises then and there. This way, the form is produced, which is included in the grasping aggregate of the form. And due to that, the feeling arises. And due to that, the perception arises. And then there is volitional actions or volitional choices or willful actions. And the experience is produced. And that is called as corresponding grasping aggregates. Now they understand. This is how there comes to an inclusion, gathering together, joining together into these 5 grasping aggregates. But the Buddha has said, One who sees the dependent origination sees the teaching, and one who sees the teaching sees the dependent origination. And these 5 grasping aggregates are indeed dependently originated. So the interest, the adherence, the attraction and attachment for these 5 grasping aggregates is the origin for suffering. Giving up and getting rid of the interest and desire for these 5 grasping aggregates is a cessation of suffering. There's no problem in having a camera. There's no problem in clicking the photographs. But there is a problem when I click a particular photograph and call it as my photograph. That is when the consciousness gets established. And because of that, there is a feeling that this is my photograph. Then I put my name and put it as copyright. So this perception that this is mine. And I do volitional action of putting C and my name. And the experience, what I'm getting out of that photograph or that video or whatever, is what is grasping. So now I grasp on that. I keep on reflecting on that. Hey, you know what? I have taken the best photograph. I get an award, best photograph award. So I store it. This is what the grasping is. So when I get rid of that, there is peace because there is no suffering. At this point, much has been done by that bhikkhu. Same thing through the ear. When the sound comes, when the ear is intact internally and the external sound come into the range, so long as there is no corresponding engagement between the two, there is no manifestation of corresponding type of consciousness. It so happens that we have the ear, but we are not listening at all. We are not given any consideration. So you will not listen, hear anything at all. Also, if the ear is internally intact and external sound comes into range and there is a corresponding engagement, but there is no interest, then no consciousness is going to arise. Only when the ear is intact internally, the external sound comes into range, and there is corresponding engagement, there is manifestation of corresponding type of consciousness. What consciousness? I have wife consciousness, son consciousness, husband consciousness, friend consciousness, because they call my name and they give me designation of husband and a son and a daughter and this and that. So then all become mine, which they are not. It's only sound. A whole language, what we are speaking, is just a sound with certain frequency and certain vibration. It's not my throat. It's a throat and it has a space and it makes sound. So if you're listening to me, if you're feeling that I have a good voice, it's not because I am good in voice. The way the vocal cords are and the way the sound is coming is like that. So it is dependent. It's not independent. So if somebody gives me an appreciation that your voice is good, should I take it? Just smile. If somebody says that your voice is horrible, should I cut my voice? No. Just smile. If I am doing that, at this point, much has been done by this bhikkhu. Same thing with the nose, tongue, body, and the mind. So the form produced in this way is included in the grasping aggregates of the form. And due to that, the feeling, the perception, choices the willful choices we make, and the experience provider produced in this, called as consciousness, in this way, are each included in this corresponding grasping aggregate. They understand that this is how there comes to be an inclusion, gathering together and joining together into these 5 grasping aggregates. And hence Buddha has said, one who sees the dependent origination sees the teaching, and one who sees the teaching sees the dependent origination. Now I can see dependent origination in the 4 primaries: Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayo, earth, liquid, that is solid, liquid, gas, and heat. They are dependent. They are there in my body, dependent on a condition. And the Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Vijnana are also dependent on the condition. What are the condition? First condition: eye is there, sight is there. There is no corresponding consciousness because there is no particular thing to be taken. Eye is there, like in the case the shutter is closed, so there is nothing there. Second, the shutter is open, but there is no interest. So the camera is taking the photographs, but not a particular one. The third case is that the eye is there, the shutter is open, and then an interesting object comes and it is taken. How that consciousness gets formed in the sight or in the eye, in the ear, in the nose, in the tongue, in the body, and in the mind. So now I can see the dependent origination, avidya, ignorance of this. Now I can see through my eyes that the avidya is gone. It placed with vidya, knowledge or wisdom, that indeed these 5 grasping aggregates are dependently originated. Thus, the interest, adherence, attraction, attachment for these 5 grasping aggregates is the origin of suffering. And giving up the interest and desire for these 5 grasping aggregates is cessation of the suffering. At this point, what has to be done by the Bhikku has been achieved, and hence is in Nibbana. If I can exactly follow the steps from the beginning to the end, I should reach Arhat Phala Samapatti. That means the ending of suffering. And this is what Venerable Sariputta said. Satisfied, the bhikkhus were happy with what Sariputta said. And I am also very happy that I am so fortunate to get this sutta and experience this sutta for the last few days. And I felt like sharing this good sutta with all of you. If you are still online and listening to it, thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to share my experience on this sutta, especially on how the form comes, how the feeling, how the perception, how the sankharas, the choices we make happens, and how the consciousness, like a magician, gives that experience and making me feel that I am experiencing it. It's such a stupid thing. So if I'm able to understand the depth of it for myself in this sutta, reaching Arhat Phala Samapatti is not far away. So I would continue my practice on this Majjhima Nikaya 28, and hopefully very soon I should reach the destination. May all of you attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana, because that is the only sukha, only happiness. Sensual happiness do have certain amount of happiness, but then they are actually dependent originated with conditions that has to be met. The sight has to get, or the eye has to get what it is looking for in the sight. The ear has to get what it is looking in the sound. The tongue has to get what it is looking for in the taste. The touch has to get, or the body has to get what it is seeking in the touch. And the nose has to get what it is looking for in the smell. And the mind has to get what it is wanting in its thoughts, which is unpredictable. And even if I get it, it won't stay even for a minute. Let's say I go on a vacation to a particular place. Let's say I go to Sweden or to Norway, supposed to be very good. Now when I go there, I'm seeing various places, taking pictures, memories, and coming back. So ultimately, what did I gain out of it? I ate in certain restaurants, I wore certain dress, I took selfies and pictures, and ultimately what remains with me is videos and that picture. Now, that vacation is over. While going, I was anxious about the visa and the flight and eating and this and that and where all I'm going to visit. And while coming back, I come back only with memories. So where the enjoyment is, gone. Where the happiness is, gone. Now I have to look forward for another vacation, because that vacation is over. Had I known this, that it is dependently originated, I would have worked on Dhamma. So that's exactly what I'm doing. Looking at the dependent origination in everything. And hence, Nibbana, which is nothing but unbinding, is certain. Because there's nothing bound here. Eye is not bound on the object of sight. Ear is not bound on the object of sound. Tongue is not bound on the object of taste. Nose is not bound on the object of smell. Body is not bound on the object of touch. Mind is not bound on the object of thoughts. And hence, it's in Nibbana, which is Sukha. There is no viparinama, unexpected result. Because there is no expectation in the first place. To call that is it expected or unexpected. Only when these two come into contact, which is eye and the sight, then all magic starts, which creates an illusion, a delusion, and the problem begins. So with that, I will end for today, and we can take another sutta tomorrow, interesting one, where we can again attain Nibbana through the discourse and also through practicing what is indicated in sutta. Thank you everyone for being there and listening, and may all of you attain Nibbana. Thank you. Bye-bye.